Many people are aware of presidential murders. I'm sure high school gave you enough people joking about Kennedy and his mind being, blown. Yet there are a few that people don't actually know about. President Garfield, editor, what have we talked about? Ron Garfield. Switch it over. President Garfield was the 20th president of the United States for only a few weeks, that being because of his untimely end at the hands of the main interesting person of the story, Charles J Guiteau. Now, with that last name, I know what people might ask. Did a Frenchman kill Garfield? Well, no. In reality, it was an American, born on September 8th, 1841, in Freeport, Illinois. Born to Luther and Jane Guiteau, this little kid was troubled even at birth. After a bit of living, his mother died after living her life with psychosis, a mental disease that involves the loss of contact with reality and difficulty with social interaction. Rough beginning for a kid. And sadly, it only gets worse. After his mother's death, he was left in the hands of his father, a strict religious figure, the abusive father that was prominent back then, as we all know. Charles would frequently be abused both physically and mentally by his father for not living up to his expectations, whether that be due to the stutter Charles had or the times he broke strict religious rules his father had set in place. Besides this abusive upbringing, he had helped his father, who worked in the private and government sectors, till he finally could leave for college, but by now the abuse over the years took their toll. Charles was known for his narcissistic, warped view of the world and himself, lending credit to the theory that he had inherited his mother's psychosis, and other parts of his life story only lended credence to this as well. He left to try to get into the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, hoping that it would all go well like he imagined, though this look slowly became disenchanted, becoming tedious and annoying to him until he left college in 1860. Soon after his leave, he would travel to New York and join the United community. A bit of background on this cult. It was labeled as a religious commune in Oneida, New York, founded by John Humphrey Noyes in 1848. He was a radical preacher who believed it was possible to achieve spiritual perfection through constant prayer and education. Though this doesn't seem obvious with their practices. They believed in a free love and constant sessions of group criticism. A bit odd for modern times, but hey, their idea of making fun of people for a joke and to make them aware of their faults lives on, so something obviously worked there. Who knew people like to make fun of each other? Anyway, Charles was not permitted to join these free love sessions because of his narcissistic, self-inflated ego. He said the harsh truth, and Charles hated it, especially in the group criticism sessions, so much so that he left in 1865, also being tired of working, acting like a self-entitled child, but that was Charles J Guiteau for you. After leaving, Charles tried to start his own newspaper, though that failed quickly in his face. He then turned back, trying to join the United community again, though leaving a year later, keeping the fact that he had to help and contribute. After a while, he finally decided he would practice law in 1868, returning to Illinois to serve as a law clerk before taking the bar exam, which he somehow passed with a 2 out of 3 score, becoming a licensed attorney. This didn't really work well for him, though, only being a bill collector mainly. He only testified to court once, failing at it horribly, arguing about religion and his own theology for the main portion of the time rather than the actual case. He married Anne Bunn in 1869, who was the librarian at the local YMCA. Charles was very physically and verbally abusive to her, locking her in a closet for hours if she went against his religious beliefs, very much like his father was to him. Anne got tired of this, and they divorced 5 years later, after he most likely hired a prostitute to get away from her, as they both wanted to separate. Can't blame him. The divorce went through soon after, and Charles went to stay with his sister. While staying there, he had a mental break trying to kill his sister in 1875. That was understandably the point where his sister wanted Charles gone, and who can blame her, really? The idea of an axe to the head, arms, etc. doesn't sound that appealing to most people. She contacted the family doctor, who told her to send him to a mental hospital because he obviously wasn't all there. How that didn't click after attempted murder beats me, but before they could hospitalize Charles, he left, not wanting to be confined for the rest of his life. And since no one searched for the crazed maniac who was obviously having issues, the future would be set in stone for him at this point. Charles traveled from town to town, preaching the words of the Oneida cult as if they were his own in 1877. It constantly failed, with him fleeing every tavern he stayed out at without paying the bill or rent. After that massive fail, he then tried selling insurance, though with him containing no charisma whatsoever, it ended up failing like most other of his undertakings. This didn't stop him from trying something else, though. Trying to obtain a political appointment in Boston, he went under the Republican Stalwart Party, writing a pamphlet called Grant Against Hancock. After his writing of this, he traveled to New York and focused on trying to offer his services to the National Republican Committee on July 11th, 1880. On his trip there, the boat he had been taking, the Stonington, had been hit by another ship, killing 80 people, not including himself, who had escaped free of physical harm. Though this close call made him think God spared him, wanted him to continue preaching political beliefs to the American people. He really got the wrong idea there, but whatever, no one gets an act of God correct, because they're weird. After a while, he had heard about the new upcomer named Garfield, who was selected on the 36th ballot. Charles was bound to get an appointment in his administration. He changed the pamphlet he made to Garfield Against Hancock, very original, giving it to anyone who would take it, and being an overall nuisance, harming Garfield in general. Garfield was at his side for one of Charles' speeches, trying to make him stop so that his PR wouldn't be too big. After Garfield was elected in 1880, Charles wrote to the Secretary of State asking many times for an appointment as Minister of Foreign Affairs, thinking he had gotten him the election win in the first place. He never got that minister position. Being rejected too was bad from even going near the White House. Convinced now that God wanted him to kill Garfield somehow, he was set to try and kill him. He went to Washington, bought a gun that looked fancy in hopes that it would look in a museum, and shot Garfield. He was arrested right after, not fighting free from going to jail. When learning about Garfield's death in his cell, he wrote a letter to the now President Arthur saying, "You're welcome for killing Garfield, for you." He had no clue what he had just done, also sending a note to General William T. Sherman asking for troops to take immediate possession of the jail to release Charles. The general in question didn't have any clue who this man was, ignoring the note, snapping Charles into a reality where he wasn't going to be viewed as a hero. On October 14th, 1881, Charles Guiteau was formally indicted for the murder of President James A. Garfield. The trial began a month later, with Guiteau presenting himself as a deranged man. While his defense team labeled him as insane, Charles denied this fact, shouting obscenities at the prosecutor, judge, and his own defense team. He was known to pass papers to onlookers asking for how to proceed with his defense. There are also several accounts of Charles proclaiming, "The doctors killed Garfield. I just shot him." He was sure he would be free somehow. I don't know how the man somehow convinced himself of this, but he did.
Nice.
Convincing himself that President Arthur would pardon him. He was so convinced that the New York Herald placed an ad where he was seen asking for a wealthy Christian woman under 30 years of age. He's a creep. He also found himself to be of such high praise that he could easily run for president, and was found to be preparing himself for an election tour. None of this came to be, though, with Charles being convicted on January 25th of 1882. He lambasted the jury who made this outcome, calling them low consummate jackasses, and proclaimed that God will avenge this outrage. The claims his defense team made seem very reasonable in this case, with him obviously being insane to any viewer of this trial, though that didn't pardon him for his crime. He tried to appeal once and was denied, being set for execution on June 30th, 1882, just 2 days before the first anniversary of the assassination. Now, as much as the story should end there, it doesn't quite yet. He'd made a deal with the executioner, presenting the poem he had written just hours before his death. The poem titled, I Am Going to the Lordy, were his final words, and quite possibly one of his only original pieces of literature he wrote. The poem itself goes, I am going to the Lordy. I am so glad. I am going to the Lordy. I am so glad. I am going to the Lordy. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. I am going to the Lordy. I love the Lordy with all my soul. Glory, hallelujah. And that is the reason I'm going to the Lord. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. I'm going to the Lord. Blah, 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 blah. It really goes on for a while. It was a long-winded poem that makes no sense. And those were his last words. They were one of a deluded man with no perception of reality, just as Charles Guiteau was in life. It would end just a few minutes later with him being hung to the delight of the onlookers. It took way too long for them. I'm sure they were fairly bored by that point. It was the end of his story, the end of an underlooked president, and the beginning of a story that many would tell broken versions of in passing. And later, as soon as the lasagna-loving, Monday-hating cat, it would become the joke of everyone. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. And don't expect any others. Have a great day, people.